to use the sine rule. Now you don't need to remember this because it is on the formula sheet, and it's on the formula sheet looking like this. Actually, it usually has equals c over sine c as well, but you're never going to use all three parts at one time, so I've only used the first part of this. So the first thing we need to understand is that the sine rule is what we use when we don't have a right angle triangle. If you have a right angle triangle, there are easier things to use, namely either Pythagoras or SOHCAHTOA. So the sine rule is for non-right angle triangles. Now the other thing we need to understand is the notation. So they use little a's for sides and capital A's mean angles. And a little a side will be opposite its angle with a capital A. So that's the notation. So this is the one version that you're most likely to find on the formula sheet. And that version is great if you need to work out a length, if you need to work out, say, A or B or even C here. However, if you're going to use it to find out an angle inside, what you need to do is just flip these formulas up. So have the angle sine A on the top over A and sine B over B. If you want to, as a lovely little exercise, you can show for yourself how you can transform this version into this. It's not a different formula. It's just using it this way round will save you a lot of time as when you're doing the workings out. So let's have a go at some examples. So here's our first one. So apart from the fact that it's not a right angle triangle, how do we spot that it's the sine rule? Because there is another rule we might use called the cosine rule. The way we do that is it's about this pairing. If we look at the formulas, you can see we've got a side with an angle, a side with an angle. Now, one of those four things obviously is going to be the one that we need to work out. So in this case, it says find the size of angle ABC. So we're trying to find that angle there. So we've got to find that angle, which is opposite this, so forms a pair. And we've also got another pair where we've got the angle and its opposite side. So it's this idea of pairing that's going to help us here. Now, because we want to find an angle, we're going to use this version here. So we're trying to find sine of B. We're trying to find B, the angle B here. So I'll use the formula written the other way round. So sine B needs to be over the opposite side to it. So B, little b, which in this case is 20. And that's going to equal the sine of A, so that's the sine of 60 in this case, 60 degrees, divided by the side opposite it, which is 18. So what we need to do now is we need to get sine B all on its own. So we do that by multiplying both sides, because we always have to do both sides, by 20, because then that 20 will cancel with this. So we will end up with having sine B equals the sine of 60 degrees divided by 18 multiplied by 20. Okay, so let's put that in. Oops. So we want sine of 60, close the brackets, divided by 18, and then multiplied by 20. So let's see what we get there. So clearly this is not an angle, it's too small. And that's because we haven't found the angle yet, we've found sine B. So sine B is 0.96 according to this. So again, to work out what B is, we need to do the sine to the -1, the inverse action of our answer. So if we do that, we do shift, click here to get the sine to the -1, press answer, press equals, and now it tells us to the nearest whole one that the angle we were trying to find is 74 degrees. So let's look at some more examples. So here we have another one. This time they want us to work out the length of this side here, which I'm going to call A. Okay, so that means we're going to use this version of the formula to do that. So A needs to be over sine of the angle opposite, so that would be the 33 degrees, and that's going to equal B, which is over here, which is 15 over the sine of the angle that it's opposite, which is 112. So to get A all on its own, we're going to have to multiply both sides by sine 33 degrees this time. Okay, sorry, I haven't got a lot of room for it on this side, because that will then cancel with that. So A equals 15 over sine 112 times by sine of 33. And because there's no sine bit here, this literally is going to take us straight to our answer. So we're going to do 15 divided by sine of 112, close the brackets because we're going to do a bit more after it. If you're not doing anything after that, you don't need to close the brackets, but we do. So then we're going to times by the sine of 33. So I don't need to close those brackets because it's the end of the sum. So if I press that, we get the answer 8.8. So I'm going to round that to 9 centimeters. To be honest, if you were doing this in the exam, I probably wouldn't round it like that. I'd do it to 2 decimal places. And in this case, therefore, that would be 8.81 would probably be more appropriate. Okay, 2 more examples coming up. So they want us to find this angle here, y. So that means we're using this set of formulas here. Okay, so the sine of y needs to be divided by the side opposite, which is 21, and is equal to the sine of the other angle, which is 84 in this case, divided by the side that it's opposite, which is 32.4. So to get sine y on its own, we're multiplying both sides by 21. So we have the sine of y equals the sine of 84 over 32.4 times 21. So let's put that into the calculator. So we've got sine 84, close the brackets because we're doing something afterwards, divided by 32.4 times by 21. So that gives us 0.64459, so on. Leave it on your calculator because we don't want the sine of y, we want actually y itself. So we're going to do the anti-signing. We're going to do sine to the -1. So shift sine to the -1, answer equals, and it tells us that that would be 40 degrees to the nearest whole one. Okay, one final one then here. So they want us to find this side here, x. So that means we need to use this version of the formula. So x needs to go over the sine of the angle that it's opposite, which is here 46 degrees. And that's going to be equal to the other side here, which we know, which is 20, over sine of the angle that it's opposite. But actually we don't know that angle at the moment, but we can of course work it out because we know these two angles, and angles in a triangle add up to 180. So 40 and 46 is 86, so 180 minus 86 is going to give us 94. So it's the sine of 94 degrees that's going to go underneath here. So we want to get x on its own, so we're going to multiply both sides by the sine 46 degrees. So that means that x equals 20 over sine of 94 degrees times by the sine of 46 degrees. So let's go to the calculator. So we're going to do 20 divided by sine 94, close the brackets, multiplied by sine 46. And that gives us an answer of 14.421971. So if we were to do that to the nearest whole one, that would be 14. If we were to do that to 2 decimal places, that would be 14.42.